So today I was joined by Beth Revell of Blue Iris Partnership. What I think you'll love about this one is that Beth and her business partner, and in fact life partner, Stephen, are not the normal, say, stuffy consultancy. They do things entirely differently. And this is an episode that shows you that you don't need to do the same as everybody else to still be a standout consultancy. You will honestly get a lot out of this episode. It's brilliant. Beth is a real awesome character. Enjoy. Well, I'm delighted to have Beth Revell from Blue Iris Partnership on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
No, I'm really excited about having you on because I think what we're trying to do with this is trying to get different voices from the industry, different people, not the, I guess, kind of the stale standard view that everybody thinks the industry should be, thinks what business leaders should be, and you're anything but that. So I'm delighted to have you on board.
Oh no, is my
we'll find out whether that's a good or a bad thing yet, but
my reputation is preceding me.
To begin with, can you just kind of tell us, I guess, let's start with how you got into the industry.
Okay, I didn't have a particularly traditional route into the industry. I knew nothing about construction. I knew nobody in construction. I sort of bumbled through secondary school and into A-levels. I did history, DT and business studies.
Right. Was that because you just liked those subjects, or was there a plan?
No, there was no plan. They were just my highest scoring results from my GCSEs.
I was like, sounds like my A-level choices.
Yeah. And again, through that, I had no idea what I wanted to do afterwards other than get out of Stevenage and move out of home and go to university.
Right.
So, I literally got the UCAS catalogue, which was a book in those days. And I knew I liked DT and art and creative subjects, but I also knew I wasn't very good at them. Right. And I really liked business studies, but the idea of a marketing degree seemed quite dull. So I took design and management and literally mashed the two together, found courses that did design management and went from then.
Right, okay.
So I did a really generic design management degree at the Surrey Institute of Art and Design. That's now the University of the Creative Arts.
Okay.
And it was a real broad course. We did some project management. We did a lot about corporate identity, branding, marketing. Of course, was run by an interior designer, so there was a slant towards our industry in that. Yeah. And then after leaving that, again, just applied for everything. I'd worked through uni at WH Smith's and at Virgin Megastores, both which are now gone. Yeah. And I had a very brief stint when I graduated at WH Smith's head office as a PA. Okay. I got fired after about 6 months. So I was a rubbish PA. I would still definitely be a PA be a rubbish PA if I tried to be one now. And it was that, I'd moved to London, early 20s, in a house share, thinking, oh God, what have I done? Right. And then again, just randomly applying, got a job in an architect studio, a sort of studio admin. Okay. Working for an amazing architect called David Clark at a company called Arene Design. Yeah. Who do a lot of work in the Middle East. Yeah. And
still going strong today, aren't they?
They are, yes. Yeah. And just doing everything from folding drawings, doing research, a bit of CAD, answering emails, dealing with the sites. And then from that, moved into more document control. Mm-hmm. Moved to their sister company, Richmond International, to do the document control for a mega project that they had, the ERR Job 8 Towers in Mecca. Right, okay. So coordinating between the architects in Cairo, the site that was in Mecca, engineers in America, UK interior design, managing the document control for what I think is the building that's still got one of the biggest footprints in the world. No. You Google it. Fred Mills from B1M does a great video on it. And
love that channel.
Yeah, I love that. It's really good.
That's why I'm aspiring to get to with this thing. That's an amazing channel, isn't it? That is brilliant.
I remember Fred when you worked for Wilmot Dixon.
Oh, well. Cool.
So, worked on that at Richmond International. And that really gave me a taste introduction into project management and construction. And I knew that I wanted to move in that direction. Got an assistant PM job at EC Harris. Yeah.
Brilliant business.
It was really good, really great team. Working in the hotel sector with Alan Sugg. And great guy called Rob Cox was my line manager there, and they just let me loose. They saw potential, let me loose on the Hilton in Reading, which is like my first baby.
Right, excellent.
And yeah, I've really enjoyed it there. Then obviously Credit Crunch hit 2009, and then EC Harris moved me into the education sector for Kingston BSF.
Right.
And I've not managed to leave education since. I think my love for everything public sector then happened. I did the native thing. I did the typical thing and went native. Mm-hmm. And so the council asked me to join them.
Yeah.
And so I did a good stint working client side, which is really valuable, particularly if you're working in the public sector, to have that insight into how the politics, the structure, the governance all works. Yeah. And then, a few years at Kingston, did some amazing projects there, had a joint role with the NHS, and then went back to the private sector. Right. Did some time at Turner and Townsend before eventually moving to Gleeds, becoming a director at Gleeds, before we started Blue Iris. So it's been a journey. You know, I'm a big believer in doors open and you follow them. 100%. You know, whether it comes sectors, types of industry, opportunities, you know, try it, because you never know where the journey will take you.
100%. And just the opportunity sometimes to meet people. So, you know, going back to what you're referencing there to your EC Harris days, where Rob just, you know, saw some value in you and said, you know, let's push this person on and see where they get to. You have to grab it, though, when they come along, but also there's those, you know, sliding door moments, I think, in life where you meet certain people at certain times, in essence.
Definitely. And I think that's the real foundation for setting up our own business, is it just wouldn't be possible without those networks and those contacts that we've made throughout our careers. You know, a huge amount of the work we get now as Blue Iris comes from the networks, the people we know, the people we've worked through. Yes, it's a very close-knit industry construction.
But also you've also got to do a good job, and you've got to be a decent person, because you can have all the contacts in the world, but if everyone thinks you're an idiot, then you're not going to get the work, are you?
No. And it's very much a people business. You know, we talk a lot about tech and process, and particularly in project management. But at the end of the day, my belief about project management is it's a people skill, 100%. And it's about getting on and bringing teams together. And if you can't do that, then that's probably not the industry for you. Yeah.
So obviously you went all the way to director at Gleeds. How soon, or when did you realise you wanted to do your own thing? Was that something that happened rapidly, or was it something that had been in your mind for a while?
I don't know. If you ask my mum, I've always wanted my own business. Right, she told my daughter the other day, apparently my first words were "me do." So I think the cards were probably on the table for
a natural PM then.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. But I did always think if I left Leeds, I'd want to do my own thing. And when I'd made that decision that it wasn't for me anymore, I sat there with I've had a few glasses of wine, and I did a list.
And always the best or worst decision made in life.
I did a list of all the consultancies, and I just thought, you know, I've trained them, and while there are differences, different name on the door, there's a lot of similarities there. And I think I knew that big consultancy wasn't for me, and that I just wanted to be the master of my own destiny, and just couldn't face being a small cog in another big wheel. So I think I'd always had that ambition burning in the background, just finding the time right.
Good. And where did the name come from? It's quite unusual, and we'll come on to a bit more about your branding that goes alongside Blue Iris. So where did the name come from?
So Blue Irises represent hope, faith, wisdom, and courage, right, which I believe are really good values for a PM business, or anyone to live by, really. Yeah. And we work in the public sector. We deal with stakeholder-driven projects, and often quite small-scale projects. And I wanted something that was more feminine, more natural. You know, there's a lot of really strong, quite phallic names for PM businesses in our industry, and I absolutely did not want that. And I think irises as a flower are amazing. You know, they're incredibly hardy. You know, they'll grow in gravel, they'll grow in bogs, they'll grow in rivers, they'll grow in soil, and they're beautiful and exotic. So why not? And being different, that was something we always wanted. We didn't want to just do what everyone else was doing, to look how everyone else was looking. Steve and I joke that if our website ever has a picture of a tower block at night with slow moving traffic lights, then that's it. We need to close the business because we've lost everything we ever stood for.
Yeah. And, why not be different? Because like you say, a lot of it does look, a lot of websites just do look very corporate, don't they? And depending on which organisations, you probably get a very kind of, just kind of rigid system process anyway, and the people they churn out may be similar as well, whereas you guys definitely, you don't stand for that in the slightest.
No.
Definitely stand for the opposite maybe, which is great. And then of course you went and had your own piece of artwork commissioned, which again is unusual.
Yeah, I like to try and be the brightest thing to cross your desk in a day. We loved it, and again, it was part of that ethos of, with the name Blue Iris, having something that was more vibrant, more natural, reflected a much more community feel to the sort of projects we were aiming for.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate that Stephen's daughter Amber is quite an established artist. She had
I didn't realise.
Yeah, no, it's Stephen's daughter Amber.
Right, amazing.
So she had was it about 40,000 more followers on Instagram at the time for her art. So it's Amber Dexterity. So she's still on Instagram.
Amazing.
So we loved her artwork and her style, and so we commissioned her to develop our artwork for us.
Brilliant.
And again, it started off and she drew something really corporate, which almost looked like a stained glass window. We were like, no, we want you. We want that vibrance. We want that energy. We want that colour. No, just do you. But we want some buildings. We want the flowers. We want nature coming in, and that's how the overall logo. So the overall logo is a bigger picture, and as you'll see from our website, we use cuts of it. Sometimes we'll use the flower on its own. We have a closed version of the flower. That flexibility, so it wasn't just one rigid, this is a picture, this is a name that we've got. We use it very organically, depending on the setting and where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
But we love it. I absolutely love it.
Good. I think anybody who meets you and Steve and also maybe looks at the website will get that you guys want to do things differently. So I don't know if this is an easy one to answer, but yeah, what would you say Blue Iris stand for compared to maybe some of your competitors in terms of what the clients would get out from the service?
I think we do stand, and we've always been important to Steve and I that we stand for honesty. I see a lot of consultants just saying what people want to hear, putting up a mask, a shine, and we're all people. We're dealing with humans, and the settings we work in, some really complex, difficult situations, particularly for the work we do in the NHS. And having that honesty, if it's not working, if we think your budget's not right, if we think your program's not going to work, we'll tell you how it is. And if you don't like that, fine. If you want to pay somebody who's going to tell you what you want to hear, that's fine, but that's not us. And we never want that to be us. And, that takes a certain kind of confidence. And having your own business makes that easier because I don't need to tell people no and then check it with somebody else first.
Yeah, no, good. And I think you're right. You do hear some horror stories in certain organisations, certain consultancies where, and it's often not limited to, and certainly not synonymous with all organisations. But you do hear some of the larger ones, certainly on bigger programs. And some of the stories I'll hear from some people who approach me to make them move jobs, and I'm moving because this is unethical what we're doing. We're charging the client for work we're not even doing out in time, but almost it can be kind of just swept under the carpet given sometimes the size and scale of some larger projects. Yeah.
And some of the fees as well, that come with some of that bad advice, when you look at public money being spent, it can be horrifying. I find it horrifying. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to run a business that's promoted on that sort of level of greed, particularly not when you're dealing with schools, and we do work for schools direct and smaller businesses, and every penny that they're investing in that asset is so important and so hard fought that you have to be ethical with how you're doing.
100%. And I think some people lose track of that though with public money. Arguably some of the stakeholders in the public sector lose track of that as well as the consultancies and the contracts of providing the services. I think some of the end clients do as well lose track of this is taxpayers' money. It's we're trying to squeeze every penny we can out of making sure this project is as valuable for who will be the end user, whether that be children or people going into a hospital, whatever it may be.
Yeah. One of my clients did remind me recently, she went, Beth, it isn't your money. You do know that. I was like, I know, but I just want to make sure we're getting the right price for everything. And again, it's that passion of what we do and the people that we work with, I think hopefully makes us unique, and the benefit that we bring back to society with the work that we do is really important, and why we do the sectors we work in.
Yeah. So good segue. So it's health and education. I presume probably with more of a leaning towards education in terms of percentage of revenue. Or
do you know what? It changes year by year,
right?
Depending on the clients and the projects we're working on. We launched in 2020, January 2020. Which was an exciting time to start a business, and immediately went into health. So both Stephen and I have backgrounds working in health for big health care providers and projects, and obviously then into COVID. So while pandemic, was a difficult time for a lot of businesses, for us it was probably the making of our business, because after sort of a few oh shit moments, what have we done? Where's the wine? Is it too early? What are we doing? Actually, give us the opportunity to talk to everyone that we wanted to talk to and really build our brand and what we stood for. But then the NHS were crying for people with experience. And the big firms were furloughing or just chasing the big Nightingale projects. And actually, hospitals needed people with experience who would get down and dirty with actually making their existing estates work. So we got a call from a QS that Stephen knew from his G&T days, and said Hillingdon Hospital are looking for PMs with NEC experience to get into their A&E department and just work out how they can make A&E work during COVID. Right. Are you interested? And then we were like, live A&E department in a pandemic, complex M&E and fit out. Yeah, go on then, see you tomorrow. So we spent COVID just in there with the first frontline staff and the amazing contractor firm we worked with, Quinn London and PCP, just literally walking around going, right, we're going to put a door there, we're going to put the gas there, we're going to put the water here, right, are you sure? Because we're going to knock that through now. Brilliant. Give us a shout when you can get the staff out the other side. And just, the amazing coordination between consultants and users and contractors that you probably ever saw. So it's varied. We've had times where health's been majority of our business. Last year, I think education was probably around 60%, 65%, was a bit heavier on education. This year, I think we'll probably be about the same. That we've got some new health work coming through. Got a new client, quite exciting health client we're just starting to work with.
Amazing, good.
And we're hoping that relationship will continue to grow.
Okay, good.
And just keep going. And we're also expanding the business as well at the moment. Right. We're moving into some new markets for us. We're moving from just PM into cost management. So we brought in a director in May who's a QS. So we're expanding into cost management and also into social value consultancy. Okay. Which is a really exciting new stretch of the business that we're interested in, and be able to help other businesses, clients, meet those social value goals and capture what we do and record it so that we know the value and others know the value we're putting back into society.
So is that typically the same, your typical clients that you're doing the social value thing, or does that broaden out into a completely different set of clients?
No, well, it's a business. We never wanted to be just a client PM business. We've always believed that the skills that we've got are completely transferable throughout the industry, and actually there's probably too many tiers in the industry to make construction more effective. Right. Okay. We're not a particularly lean or effective industry. You only have to go to some design team meetings where you can have sort of 30 plus people, more than that in a room. And you go around and about 5 of them call themselves project managers, right. To know that we're not really a very lean, efficient industry. So we've always wanted to try and break that down a little bit. So we not only work client side, but we also work with contractors. Right. And we'll also support design teams. Okay. So Stephen came from a contractor background. He started his career with Shepherd. who obviously then got bought by Waits.
Yeah.
And so we'll offer design management, pre-construction management services to smaller contractors who are looking to do design and build, but maybe don't have that in-house.
Right. Okay.
And then we also do NEC contract admin for smaller contractors and subcontractors who, because it's a public sector contract, they have to do the NEC, and again, don't have that experience in-house. So I really enjoy that part of our work, helping the smaller subcontractors particularly navigate their way through what can be quite an onerous and adversarial contract.
You hear this all the time about the NEC, that especially small contractors or subcontractors say, yeah, we'll do it, sign up to it, and there's no realisation of what they're signing up to and the requirements of the continued management of the NEC projects, NEC contracts, which, you know, people obviously seems to be eating up the world and it was NEC, and you know, certainly there's a lot of advocates for it, but you've also got to know how to administer the contracts. If you don't, you can quickly get yourself in hot water. You can lose your shirt quite quickly on it. I mean, I'm PM, so there's a rhythm, there's an order, there's a structure to it. You know, I really enjoy it as a contract administrator. But if your approach, as so many great people in our industry is that you just crack on and you ask questions later, then with time bars, you can lose your shirt. No, you know, we have enough problems with insolvencies in this industry without the form of contract we're using, making that even worse. So yeah, I really enjoy the work we do, helping the smaller guys sort of see their way into the public sector. Good. And so obviously, as you say, Jitten's come on board. What do you think? Obviously, maybe we should ask him this, but what do you think attracted him to you guys to say, right, you know what, I'm going to, you know, leave an established and good business to join a small scrappy PM business? He's got some weird art for the what do you think made Jitten want to say, you know, and this is going to be critical for you, isn't it, now, this next stage of growth, just attracting really good, talented people?
So Jitten and I worked together at Turner and Townsend.
Right. Yeah.
So I suppose the arrogant answer would be he knew us already, or he knew me already.
Yeah.
But I think it was the time I think it was a mixture of combinations. There was the fact that we already had a relationship, and so we knew how each other worked and our approaching. Obviously, he was on the cost management side at TNT, whereas I was on the PM side.
Yeah.
But there was also the values that we stood for. So Jitten had left RLB and he'd taken a career break to focus on his family. And he was then looking to get back into the industry. And I think he found that while people pay lip service to flexible working, to having that work-life balance, when you scratch the surface, it's pretty cosmetic. Yeah. Whereas we fully get it. You know, we all work flexibly. We're a very, I wouldn't say family-orientated business, but I think that sounds wrong. We're a respectful of people's lives business. Actually, I was thinking on the way over here, I don't currently have anyone that works a traditional 5-day-a-week, 9 to 5 on the books. I mean, that's mostly because some of us work sort of 7 till 10. But yeah, if I look at my team, you know, I've got 3 people working at the moment, do 3 days a week. I've got a working single mum who works around school hours, and we're open to people working remotely, you know, as well as coming into our office. You know, we get it. I get it. You know, I want to be able to. A key thing for me about the business was the ability to clock off, pick my daughter up from school, then be able to log back in. You know, and respect for that, and because it's so built into how we as managers and owners run the business, you know, we want to pass that down to our staff as well. So I think it was the ethos, what we were doing and our approach to people, and a bit of excitement, the fact we are trying to do something a bit different that invited, I think attracted Jitten to joining us, or at least I hope so.
Amazing, good. So what is the headcount now in the business?
So we are 6 at the moment. Hopefully 7th person is joining us the next couple of weeks.
Brilliant.
And then 8 if we include the dog, which we should, because she's a key member of the team.
What's the dog's name?
Ariel.
Excellent.
So if anyone does come to our new offices, then she will try and lick you. You will be
Chief Happiness Officer.
She is director. She's on our website as director of wellbeing.
Brilliant, amazing. And so you've just moved into your new office, which is a kind of a quirky old building. It looks like it maybe, is it listed, or it looks like it could be? It's definitely an old quirky building, isn't it, with wiggly walls and the like.
It is. It's brilliant. So we've been looking for new premises for a while.
Yeah.
We moved into a Regis. God, what were we, 2 years in the Regis, which was fine. It did its job.
It's just a square box, isn't it?
It is just a square box,
yeah.
And has that feel of sort of student digs about it, because you never know who's going to have left washing in the sink.
Right.
And,
okay.
like the toilets are a mess, and the AC was always breaking, and it had those frustrations. But it's all inclusive, and it gave us that base to get out of the back office.
Yeah.
So we saw this off. I have been coveting this office for a while.
Right.
So we had a few discussions, but the rent was way too high, and we weren't quite in the right place. And we've managed to come to a deal through a bit of persistence and ongoing discussions with the agent.
Right.
So we're on Rickmansworth High Street, which is on the Metropolitan line. So we're just North London.
Yep.
Really convenient for the M25 and just getting everywhere. About a 4-minute walk from the tube.
Mm-hmm.
We're right on the high street. So we've got Specsavers, there's a photo shop, and then Greg's, and then we've got a bit of branding. So excited about getting my name on the high street.
Yeah, it looks cool, the photos.
Yeah, and not just, so we were putting our branding up, and then WH Smith's opposite were taking theirs down. Right. And I was like, the irony, you fired me. You
Brilliant. Perfect circle of life.
and it's a big office. We could easily fit 15 people, probably more in it. Amazing. So we are rattling around a little bit.
Right.
But it's that space to grow.
Yeah.
And it's really quirky. We've got an amazing bay window with curved glass and a big fireplace. And then the back office has got incredible high ceilings and coving details. And it's just nice to be in the heart of the community there.
Yeah, lovely.
And Rickmansworth's a great market town. We toyed about being in the centre of London, but actually we've got so much flexibility, and being where we are, if people want to commute, if you get a fast Metropolitan line from Baker Street, you're with us in less than half an hour.
Right, okay, perfect.
But if you're on the M25, so if people want to live in the home counties, and again want to come into the office, leave at 3 so they can get home and see the kids in the evening, we work well for opening up to that market as well.
Amazing, good, brilliant. And so what do you think the plans are for growth? Obviously, you can fit 15 in that office, 6 now. Is that, obviously you've taken Jitton on, so obviously you want to go into cost margin and fully push that. What's the plan for the business, would you say, over the next few years?
So, fill the office.
Yeah.
That's the gamble. We've taken a long lease on a big office.
Yeah.
So that's sort of our commitment to growth over the next few years.
Good.
So fill that office. I've talked about the new sectors we're going into. We're really developing. We had our 5th year birthday in January, and that was take stock. Wow, where are 5 years gone? But also, what do the next 5 years look like?
Yeah.
What do we want out of the business? What markets we're looking at? Bringing Jitton in as part of that. Is reinforced. We want to stay core to our sort of principles around community and public benefit projects. I'd be very surprised if you asked me in 3 years' time if we're working for any really big shiny developers. Yeah. That's not where our heart's at and where our passion is for delivering projects. So we've had some interesting relationships looking at literary projects touching on social housing. Okay. Because there are some big problems in society, and the whole social infrastructure is obviously learned by providing real social housing. So not looking at that market obviously doesn't quite align fully. So we're sort of looking potentially at that market, but keeping our core focuses. We love doing projects in education and health, and we want to keep doing that. Yeah. But then looking at new strings to the bow, which is where the social value comes in, doing more work with contractors, as well as the cost management.
Mm-hmm. And do you think you'll go into any other disciplines, or building surveying or anything like that, or are you?
Maybe. Quite interested in building surveying.
Golden area for building surveying, I think.
Yeah.
It's just look at, hopefully for the right reasons, the right drivers, reuse buildings, don't knock them down, retrofit, net zero. I think it could be an interesting period for building.
You ever meet any quirky building surveyors? Let me know.
I'll let you know that. So, not only is your business already unique, but then to add to that, your business partner is also your life partner. So, so how long have you two been a couple?
So let's just say the business came first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
So, yes, probably like the worst kept secret. No, Blue Iris came first.
Right.
You know, possibly not long after.
Right,
You know,
okay.
their eyes met over the business plan. You know?
Come back to that pesky wine again.
Exactly. So yeah, it's I tell you, we always joke that you can make a Netflix series out of us setting the business up and everything that came since. So I think that's because we work together.
Yeah.
You know, we work together at Bleed. Stephen was he's had his own business for 8 years since he'd left E&T.
Okay.
He was doing interim work for me at Leeds and was very much, if I had a basket case project, if it might all be going horribly wrong, you know, Stephen was always sort of top of my people to call.
Right, brilliant.
So we were really good friends. We always knew we got on really well.
Yeah.
And so when I decided that big corporate wasn't for me anymore, my list of consultancies,
Right.
I also had a list of people that I'd like to set a business up with, and his name was at the top.
Amazing.
So possibly a little bit naive that there might not have been something else in the background. But yeah, I texted Steve and said, "Do you want to go for lunch?" And then badged him in the office to go for lunch. And we went Riding House Street, the little Thai restaurant there. And I told him I was thinking of leaving and setting up. And he went, interesting. Perhaps we should do something together. And then sort of the rest is history. But yeah, but obviously we are together. It's, and that's going strong as well. It's really interesting. It's an interesting balance. I think the fact that we're both really passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're not in a relationship with somebody who's not in the industry, I think them understanding the pressures, the peaks, the troughs,
Sure.
the complex web of everyone you're talking to. I know previous partners of mine have found it quite difficult to just understand what I'm talking about and empathise.
Just ask my wife. I don't think she understands the pressure that I'm what I do sometimes, and and maybe it's like I'm not sure I want to talk about it just because I might have had a frustrating day, and then I guess through no fault of her own, she might ask me about it, and it's like then she won't understand what I'm talking about, and then it just gets even worse. It's like, right, let's just not bother.
But yeah, talk about sort of all in, you know. Got life, family, business,
dog,
boat,
all in. Come on to the boat in a second.
all in together. But do you know what? It works really well for us.
Good.
We have this rule where if you want to talk about work after 7, it requires 2 directors sign off. So if one of us had enough, you know, because we're all passionate about what we do, so we could talk about it forever. That if actually we just want to draw a line under it, we can just say, no, I'm withdrawing my director's consent. You do not have director's approval to proceed with this conversation. And then we can go on to discussing who's going to clean the kitchen.
So that must there must be times when that gets fraught. You know, you must have, logically, I guess any two business partners must have disagreements some days on I don't know, the way something's handled, the direction of a business, something. There must be disagreements at times, I assume. There
are.
Yeah.
The team hate it when Mummy and Daddy fight in the office. But equally, they all know exactly how to play us off against each other.
Brilliant.
But we do. But do you know what? We always find a way through it. Particularly never go to bed on a work argument. And we just have this general, we call it our family motto, that just don't be a dick. So if you think anyone's being a dick in the office, we just invoke the family motto to, you know, calm the conversation back down again. But we both love what we do. We've always had that same joined up ethos of where we want the business to go.
Good.
And I think that helps, you know, and we enjoy it. We enjoy the socialising. One of the things I love about construction is the fact that it's such a social business, such a people business. You know, we're probably out once, twice a week, maybe just going to various networking events, meeting up with clients, you know, consultants we work with. And to be able to do that as a couple is actually really nice. And we know lots of other people that own businesses together. Actually, you see it more in architecture. We know a lot of husbands and wife architecture firms.
Okay.
that are run by husband and wife teams, and a few other consultancies.
Okay.
So we're not alone in it actually, you actually start to build quite a few sort of network of other sort of couples that own businesses together, as well as the club of those of us that own our own businesses and understand what that means. And it's good, there's highs and lows, but actually it's just that shared passion and the fact that we can share our love for our work and growing the business together, works really well.
Brilliant. And then you've got quite added to the uniqueness. You've got quite a unique networking strategy.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell everybody about that?
So we have a boat.
Nemesis. What's the boat called?
Nemesis 2.
Nemesis 2.
Strong name. After my dad. So my dad had a boat when we were growing up, which was Nemesis 1.
Oh, amazing.
So my dad had bought Nemesis 1 when he'd got dumped by a girlfriend, and it was his little project to help him get over that. Okay. And so the boat came before me and my mum and me and my brother.
Right.
So during COVID, and Stephen was spending probably too much time on YouTube watching boat videos. And just sort of, said he was interested in it, and absolutely, because I've got so many fond memories of as a child of being on the boat. And we're a blended family. He's got children, I've got a daughter, different ages. Just a way of us all sort of getting together outdoors, doing something together. So everyone's not just watching the TV on their devices. And so we sort of thought we'd go and have a look. But I was very much, we haven't got the money. We need to be saving, investing in the business. And at that point, we'd been putting money aside so that we could recruit our first senior project manager. Yeah, because we always said that we wanted to have that person's salary for at least a year in the business. Because if someone's going to make that investment in us, we want to make sure that we've got the money there to give them that comfort. Yeah. I know in reality there is no more security for anyone joining one of the big guys to joining us. The same employment rights are there. They will drop you on the hat if time, cut your salary, if times get difficult. But we wanted to have that comfort there. And then we'd made an offer to somebody, and she turned us down, went to one of the big guys. So we bought a boat.
Brilliant.
So mature, responsible business decisions. We went, sod it, we'll do the job ourselves that we were going to get her to manage. We'll just work a little bit harder and we'll buy a boat.
Amazing.
So it was brilliant. So we're now on we've now upgraded, we've got a bigger boat now. So Nemesis 2, she's a 37-foot Sea Lion S37. Right. And we love her. Just love her. Amazing. There's no justifying it. It's a ridiculous expenditure, but it's a way of us. It's the most relaxing thing in the world. I know you're a big walker, so I imagine you feel the same about getting out into the hills as I do, as getting out on the river. There's nothing. You get out on the water, and whatever's been bothering you all week just seems insignificant. That sense of perspective and getting out in nature, and because the boat's big enough and it's a really sociable boat. It's a motor cruiser. It's an open sports boat. We invite clients to come as our guests on board and mixtures. So it's the second year we've done it. We have our boat days. So we did 5 days this year where we can get up to sort of 10, 12 of us on the boat. Right, yeah. So we have us, people from our team, and then clients, architects, contractors, people we like with, people we like really, which is most people in this industry. And then they come down for the day. We start off with a couple of glasses of fizz. We do our safety briefing because PMs make sure everyone knows what's going on. Good. And then we go out on the Thames. So we keep it on the non-tidal Thames up by Shepperton. Okay. And then we'll go out. We'll do a few locks, which gets everyone team building, doing the ropes. I mean, if people just want to sit there and chill out and have a few drinks, then they can. But there's always a couple on board who want to know what all the buttons do and do the ropes and the knots and drive the boat, because you don't need a license to drive a boat in the UK. Okay. And then we'll stop, have some lunch, and then just do a bit more cruising, go to a pub. It's amazing how quickly the days go. The conversations are always amazing, and it's spending quality time. You can host a big drinks event, you can have a dinner, but actually you don't really get to interact with people as much as you do on those days. Regardless of what the weather's doing. We've just really got to know the people we work with at a much deeper level because of it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And our boat's like a second home, so we're almost sort of inviting people into our home for the day. And I think that helps them to understand Steve and I and what we're doing a lot more as well. And just brilliant relationships just forged out of it, and just some really great days.
Good. Brilliant. So 5 years in the business now. Is there anything you do differently? Do you think you made any mistakes along the way?
God, yes. How many have I done this week? I think anyone that says they haven't would definitely be lying.
Full of shit.
Yeah, full of shit, exactly. We've made a fair few. Probably spending too much money on boats.
Keeps you focused. Shit, we've got to earn money now.
Yeah, exactly. Mooring fees are due for this year. God, yeah. We hit a shopping trolley once and bent the prop. That was an expensive day. So that's really, recruitment's been really difficult. People, I think. We've tried to recruit. I really want to grow the team. I love investing in people, especially people at the start of their career. But when you're a small business and you haven't got those wider structures in place, that's been hard. And recruitment's a really big investment, particularly if you're using a recruitment consultant. It's a for a small business. So where we've had recruitment not work out, that's always a difficult process for anyone to go through. And then how that relationship ends, and keeping good relations with people.
So people you've hired who've just not worked out, not aligned to your culture in the end, or
culture, the work ethic, and I think also coming to a realistic understanding between us that until there's more of us, actually, our time is so focused and so busy, and there's only so much we can give. So managing that while bringing up younger people until we get that next level of management could be a challenge. We're working on it, and now we've got more senior PMs working for us. I'm going to be looking to bring into the junior ranks again, so we can grow that way. And finding the right people to advise you. We've had some difficult times with our accountants. They've let us down, so we've been working through that process at the moment, just appointing new accountants, and then sorting out some of the challenges from not having good accountancy advice, which again, anyone setting up a business is really important. Paying the right amount of money for the right people to advise you is key.
100%. I think that's very true. You've got you obviously you advocate yourself what you do for a living. At the end of the day, that's why they pay you to do your job equally. The people you pay to advise you on financial stuff and other elements is really important, isn't it, to get the right advice.
But we're learning and growing, and that's the most important thing. And giving time to reflect on where we want to go and what we've learned from where we know we haven't done right, and being honest about it. And I think that's a key part of our culture. And going, right, so what systems can we put in place so that we don't do that again? Most of it comes down to communication and just making sure you're putting time aside from the day job to focus on those elements, so that you can really invest and take, not make less mistakes, I think. But to know that we are growing and learning, and actually some of the clients we work with, they understand and they're respectful that we're a small business, and that there'll be times where life happens. And, we've been fortunate, where there's been difficult things happening, and actually our clients have supported us, and till we're back on our feet, or we've redealt with that, and then we're going. So it's working with the right people. Yeah.
I can only imagine, kind of knowing both of you, that you're just by default pretty honest characters, so you'll be honest with clients, and probably the clients who want to work with you and you want to work with will be those kind of people as well, who get that and understand that life is not perfect all the time, because things can get in the way, can't they?
And it's been nice. We've worked with some brilliant people who really wanted to invest in our business as well. One of our first clients, he's got an office in London, and when we told him we were setting up, and he was like, I took us out for breakfast, and he always said, if you want to use our meeting room in London, absolutely, it's yours whenever you need it. We'll put on teas and coffees and everything.
Nice.
So even when we were working from home, we always had a base in London, thanks to his kindness, and giving us those opportunities. And we're really seeing the repeat business come through now, which is great. You know, there's things you learn because we work in public sector and there's rules and regulations. You know, it's a tough market to be in for a small business. The procurement regulations don't help small businesses.
Yeah.
I have a lot of frustration with the fact that I think if something good could have come out of Brexit, it could have been more opportunity for small businesses in Britain. And I just don't feel the procurement regulations that have come out are doing that. We're seeing more onerous procurements coming out, more onerous tenders, and it's hard to get that public sector work in the first place, at least the meaty stuff. So we try, we're being plucky. We're going up into tenders against some of the big guys for some of the frameworks. We're not getting there because we haven't got massive bid teams. Again, this is what you're doing after the day job.
Well, it's just the amount of from what you hear about some of the things like the Crown Commercial Services one is like speak to people who've gone through that. It's like it's just ridiculous what they need from you, and it's complete overkill. Logically, it's complete overkill.
And my favourite is they like to say, "Oh yeah, this is suitable for SMEs." And you go, so what are your PI requirements for that framework then? And what are your turnover to requirements? And they sort of shuffle and you go, so you're not suitable for SMEs really, are you? Mm. So it's finding a way to negotiate through that. So, it's always a roller coaster. We will always keep shooting for stars as we grow and we'll get there. But, sometimes you don't get big frameworks. But then our other clients are coming through and we've had 3 new commissions come to us for pricing through existing clients, and that's direct to point. So, it's fantastic in finding a way. And we've been really fortunate that we've built some really good partnerships with some of the bigger consultancies. Right. Which again, Blue Iris partnership, we always knew that partnership would be a key part of our business model. And we're finding that really beneficial in helping us get some of those biggest public sector projects. Working with some of the more commercial-based consultancies who actually, for either Section 106 planning, have got a health or a education requirement and need that specialist support from us. So we've got some brilliant strategic partners. We're doing some great stuff with Tetra Tech. We're doing some great stuff with Cumming Group, who are both really interesting big consultancies and are actually, again, open for using their clout to support SMEs grow, which is fantastic. And
sensible, frankly. It's sensible at the end of the day. Engaging with good SMEs would be a sensible strategy for large consultancies because inherently you've all got the same challenge. So going back to your point and frustrations about recruitment, it's exactly the same for the larger consultancies as well. They all have the same challenge. There's not enough good people in the market, full stop.
Yeah, which is amazing. The skill shortage and how we encourage that next generation to come through and share our passion. I don't know if you know, but I do a lot of work with the CIOB.
I was about to say that was the next thing I was going to come on to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when I'm not
doing everything else.
When I'm not running the business, growing the business, being a mother and everything like that. I'm also currently fortunate to be chair of the London hub of the CIOB, which is the committee that represents members' interests and promotes the institute within London. So London's got the biggest membership of the CEO of all the hubs. And CIOB is a truly international, the Chartered Institute building. It's a real international institute. It's got offices across the world.
Yeah. So what is the solution then, do you think, in terms of, because we're properly facing down the barrel of a gun, I think, in terms of the skill shortage that's coming in the industry, in terms of bringing enough young people in versus the number retiring or relocating internationally. But then on top of that, and this is not necessarily a debate about who's right or wrong, the world is changing. A lot of people in their 20s perhaps have a different view, attitude, outlook about work and life and what's sensible and what's not. I'm sure you grew up, Beth, through just being overutilised, and that's probably the route that took you to get to where you ended up being. We've got a real fundamental challenge in society. That's not a lot of young people are going, nah, no thanks. I don't want that. And then on top of that, we've got the whole, I think, still the image we wrestle with, about, people on site wolf whistling women and all this kind of stuff. There's still this real stigma attached around construction and maybe going into construction as an industry. That's a long way of saying. So what's your answer to that? What we're doing
What's my answer?
about it?
I've got an idea. I think there's a number. It's multi-level.
Yeah.
I think there's an issue with us as an industry with the fact that we are terrible at promoting ourselves. We do amazing things. You know, we look at what we build. You look at the infrastructure. You know, construction just underpins everyday life. You know, we're one of the key drivers in the economy, and yet we don't sing and promote all the great we do. You know, we drive innovation. You look at the sustainable, you know, things that we're doing around net zero in our industry. We do some amazing work, but then we focus on what we've done wrong. And it's right, we should focus on what we do wrong. But when that becomes the image and our reputation, then you wonder why we've got a recruitment problem. And we're just not explaining what we do. I think people talk about construction, like you said, they think about guys in hard hats. And it's not. This is a complex web of consultancies, different jobs. And we just don't explain that. And it's not communicated down to schools beforehand. And so how are you going to attract people? And some people are making decisions. You know, people are being forced to make decisions on their career when they're 16, and probably like myself, had never heard of construction or knew about project management. You know, again, my idea of construction was what you see on it's cranes and Bob the Builder. You know, whereas actually there's design, there's engineering, there are so many different elements that build up that process. That we don't communicate it and we don't sell it enough. So I think that's the challenge, and there are some great organisations that are trying to change that. But it needs to be a cultural shift. And I was encouraged to hear that they're talking now about a construction GCSE, and I hope that again will deal with I say the professional side. I don't mean that contractors aren't professionals, but I mean the process side, the consultant side of construction, as well as the building element, because it's a great career. You know, I feel so fortunate to work in this industry because no day is the same. You know, I work with amazing people. I deal with amazing projects. I put things back in society where children will be educated, where people will be treated for cancer. You know, all that amazing stuff. And we don't sell it enough.
Absolutely. No, we need to. The industry collectively needs to work this out soon, I think. Because we really are on the precipice, I think. You know, talk about 500,000 people retiring from the industry in the next 5 or 10 years. It's going to be an issue, a big issue.
And you know, I think a lot of that has to be pushed by central government, and that's why being involved with your professional bodies, you know, they've got that voice. So if you feel passionate about it, then I'd encourage anyone to get involved, whether you're RICS, whether you're APM or you're CIOB. You know, get involved, because that's the way that you can talk to the people in the institute who are having those conversations, are part of those consultation groups. And it's really interesting. I love hearing about the work the CIOB's doing and trying to push construction as an agenda within central government.
Good. And all that is brilliant, and we need to get more people into the industry. But what part do you think kind of tech is going to play in that, in terms of maybe will that kind of minimise some of the gap, and on from there, what's your approach within Blue Iris in terms of what you're using from tech, and how you think it just might affect what we all do in the future, I guess, not just construction consultancies?
I find it really interesting. So we talk about it a lot. I'm working in the public sector. For us, BIM has been mandated since I think it was 2016. And when I talk to colleagues who work in commercial and other sectors, they go, "Oh, we don't do the BIM." And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't do it?" It's so, you know, designing fully integrated CAD models with Kobe has been day to day for me for nearly 10 years. What do you mean you don't do it in your big shiny towers? You know, it's too complicated and expensive. I'm like, if I can do it on a primary school, you can do it on that big hunking thing. So
in theory, should make the process simpler and save money, you'd think, long term, you'd assume.
So the technology,
if done properly.
So the technology's been there and growing for a while. I think there will continue to be some resistance to it, largely because I think there are drivers in this industry where it benefits them not to fully embrace it. You know, there's a fair amount of greed kicking around, and why would you embrace something and promote something that might see you out of a job? So I think the fact that we're 10 years on from the government mandate for BIM and it's not fully integrated in all elements of our industry. It makes me somewhat sceptical that we're going to see an immediate revolution. But I hope we can, because I think there's a real opportunity there, as long as we're sensible about it and check it. And I think until there's an amnesty, if that's the right word, of data, I think there'll always be some limitations to it. Because in theory, the models are there. If the benchmark data on costs and component costs and labour costs are all there, then the building should be largely designing and then costing itself. And then with off-site manufacture, I look at amazing work like people like Ep10 are doing with their factory. The building could then start to build itself.
But they're one of few, aren't they now? The modular being a prime example. It's gone backwards, not forwards, really. Ep10 are a great bastion of it still, and are doing a great job. But they're actually only a few now who still exist doing it. And it is obviously it has to be the future. You just look at, again, going back to the productivity challenges we face. It surely has to be the future, but yet we've gone completely backwards in modular.
Yeah, I think it has to be the future, but then it's that human nature, and you go, for clients, for efficiency, for meeting the shortage of homes, for meeting the crisis that we're facing around homelessness and public social, particularly social care. Yeah, absolutely needs to be the answer. But then who's driving that and who's controlling it, and is it in their interest? So I think there's a bit of an old guard that need to pass through before we really see some embracement of that.
Great.
But it has to be checked. And one thing I found working with some younger people in our industry is getting reliant on it. I've seen a few things pass my desk and you just go, that's just come straight out of ChatGPT. And then it's a frustration to go, you've been given a task to do. I'm sitting next to you. If you didn't understand what I was asking you to do, talk to me. Don't put it into ChatGPT and then present it back to me going, because that's not what I asked. And, you've just got a lot of very useful information in there, but not relevant to what we're doing at the moment. And so that's not time saving. No. That's actually adding more time and potentially teaching incorrect information, because what we do is highly technical. We're very much a hands-on technical practice. We expect our PMs to know their way around a drawing, to know their way around the design process. And you need to learn that through time, and ChatGPT is not going to teach you to be able to pick up on those subtleties in meetings. No. So I think there's an amazing opportunity with playing with it. We've got some interesting things. Actually, some of the younger people in our business are definitely driving that. But we're on a journey, and we're watching to see what others do. Listening to this podcast has been interesting to see what other people are doing. What other people with similar businesses and similar sizes. I went to a great lecture by Mark Farmer, who from Cast, about AI.
Just around the corner from this, from where we're filming.
He's amazing. He's a real inspiration. Again, with the work he does with government as well. So I went to a great lecture he gave on AI and sort of his journey from QS, calculator, ruler, clicking when they did the measurement at EC Harris. They've now developed their own in-house AI system, which I need to find out more about, because that sounds very interesting. So there's some real innovation happening, but it'll be interesting to see how driven the uptake is.
We'll see what way. It's going to change, but like you say, you've got to use it the right way. Make sure it's putting out if you are going to use, make sure what's getting put out is correct, and not just be lazy, not just like bang this out. Because I think that's a problem to say something like, if you do get AI to write a report for you, because you've not owned the report and you've not written it yourself, you can kind of almost skim over it without really necessarily fully being involved and understanding it. And that's then what you start putting out to clients. That's not going to be a good place for us to be.
And you can then come to the fundamental question of actually what is our role as a consultant.
Absolutely, yeah.
And whenever I do talk to clients, and again, the CIOB have a great client focus and getting clients to feed back into us. And it's always prove you're adding value. They could get anyone to write them they could get ChatGPT to write them a program to put them together a risk register. So the onus will be in how you're adding value. to the clients and the projects you're working with. Because the minute you're not adding in value as a business, then why are you there? And I don't know, for me, I think there's a real opportunity, and I'm excited that I think the importance of relationships and people, because although technology is coming in, those relationships I think will only become more important.
100%.
And they could, if they could, there are parts of my job I'd be very happy for you to fully automate tomorrow. But the talking to consultants, to the engineering teams, the working out how I'm going to knock down half a school to rebuild it because it's got rack when it's full of 2,000 kids. All those sorts of things still involve people and relationships, and they're the things I love in this industry and want to keep growing my business to do.
And that's hopefully what potentially AI technology can facilitate, actually, is that we stop doing the boring, mundane stuff and you actually spend more time with your clients, with fellow consultants, with contractors, actually face-to-face meetings, less time sat at your desk having to worry about administering what's happening, I guess. So well, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I think it might be slower than people. That's my prediction anyway. I think it might be. I think it might be slower.
It's really fascinating to see. I think you've got some people with all of these things. There's a spectrum, isn't there? You've got some people who think it's going to happen really, really fast, and others who don't, and then maybe a lot of us are in the middle somewhere. I don't know, but we'll see.
I think it is intricately linked with bringing people through into the industry and filling that skills gap. And I think the two things are very linked, because we are facing a cliff edge at the moment where people are retiring out of the industry and they're not being replaced, and that's all across construction. That's not just on site, but also in the big offices as well.
100%. Right, two very quick last questions then. We're going up to time.
It's gone so quickly.
I'm going to throw in another question. I thought, I've not asked this question before, but I'm going to start asking it. You're going to be the first. You're going to be a guinea pig. Okay. I think you'll have a good answer to it. It's not a complex question. What is the one project you would say is a project that you are either most proud of, or that you would say you learn most from? The one that's like, my baby, this is a project I'd love talking about forever. When I'm 90, I'll talk about this project.
Oh, probably. I mean, all my projects are my babies. Yeah. Well, most of them. There's a few problem children in there.
There's a few you'd like to give away.
Yeah. There's a few you only see at Christmas. I think the one that will always have a really big place in my heart will be the job I did in Surbiton. When I worked for Surbiton, where I worked for Kingston Council. Yeah. We had Surbiton Hospital site, right. Which we shut down the hospital. It was a decrepit 1920s building, right. Just underutilised, terrible condition. So shut down Surbiton Hospital, which in itself is a process to go through. And then the site was redeveloped to build a polyclinic, right. And a new primary school, right. On the same site. Okay. So there was a real shortage of school places at the time in Kingston. And the health centre brought together 4 separate GP practices that are all in like the little houses that you see. Okay, yeah. Brought together 4 GP practices, plus we had diagnostics and community healthcare. Okay. So we had X-ray, we had mammography, we had clinical dentistry, phlebotomy, podiatry, physiotherapy, minor operations. So it was a real hub, and it was a spoke for taking the pressure off Kingston Hospital. Yeah. So in the south of the borough, bringing much needed community healthcare right in the centre, and then meeting school places. So I had a joint role. I was project manager both for the NHS and for the local authority, who were both jointly developing the site. I had some very complex Chinese walls and vinyl. I was going to say complex stakeholder management there. But it was, and it was an amazing facility. It brought huge community benefits. I believe it still does bring huge community benefits. But also it was really contentious. Shutting down the old hospital was incredibly emotional for the local community. There'd been a build a brick scheme post-war, so the building predated the NHS. Right. People had had their children in the building, and there was a real fear of change. And I very much on the front line with an amazing director, Ian Nixon, who's sadly no longer with us. Facing the community, explaining what was happening, putting together fears around, was the transport going to be a nightmare? What was it going to mean? Would people still be able to get an appointment with their GP? All those concerns to then deliver this amazing community facility. We did it through NHS Lift.
Right.
So the project was part PFI, part capital funded by the local authority. So going through that process. And it's quite interesting because I keep reading that model is coming back. So I might get to do another one. Wilmot Dixon were the contractors. Great team from Wilmot's, really great design team. One of those projects where just everyone gets what you're trying to achieve for the greater good and really pulls together. And it's a fantastic looking site. The landscaping was brilliant. We did a heritage lottery project on community history where we worked with Kingston University and an archivist on doing oral histories and research into the local area. Just multifaceted, real community-based project. And that'll always be a really special one to me.
Yeah, I can tell. Brilliant. And the last question, who would you say in your career has been your best boss, mentor, leader? Maybe the one who's shaped your career. Who would you say that individual? Could be individuals, but who would you say?
Oh, there's been a number. There's been some really good, some amazing ones. I'd have to give a shout out to Jo Twine. She runs a business called Productor.
Okay.
She was my boss at Kingston Council, BSF.
Okay.
She's a force, I tell you. You think I've got some energy, you should spend some time with Jo. She's phenomenal. Her brain is, and again, she wants to make the world a better place. Amazing. She's such an inspiration. My first sort of boss in construction industry, David Clark and Ian Nixon, that I've spoken to, really seeing that opportunity and just pushing me to go. And also reining me in. Ian would just do a Beth. Okay, right, I'll rein it in now. And just, there's a whole load of people that have just been really influential. And then other peers that I see in the industry that I take inspiration from. So we've talked about people like Paul Ruddock. He's an amazing inspiration to watch what he's doing with his business. But I also think it's, I've learned a lot from the terrible bosses I've had as well. Yeah. Which I think we don't talk about. Yeah. I think a big part of how I want to run and grow our business is learned from some of the truly awful people that I've seen running businesses. And that shapes you as well. So 100%. I think it's important to take the great you learn from people, but then also seeing the bad practice and going, how can I actively change that and do better? So I think that's also been a big influence on me as well. But I won't name those people.
Probably best not to. Beth, I love that. Thank you so much for coming in today and sitting down and having a chat with me about it. It's been good. And I just want to see Blue Iris keep on going from strength to strength.
Fingers crossed. We're excited about the journey and want to keep doing what we love doing.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.